Welcome to the United We Scan podcast, the podcast by rural carriers for rural carriers. The views expressed in this podcast are of the presenters and the presenters only and do not represent the views, opinions, or strategies of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. We ask that you please consult your assigned union representative for guidance in your local area. Please like this podcast, share with your fellow rural carriers, and subscribe to be notified each time a new episode is uploaded. Also, please leave a comment or question for us below. Thank you. Now, here are the hosts of the United We Scan podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. We are on episode 83. And it's only going to be Bill and myself today because Kristen's at a concert and Toasty has family. So it's going to be a fun one between the two most passionate individuals that I know of, other than Toasty and Kristen. So, how was your week, Bill?
Oh my God, what a wonderful week not to be working, the heat, the humidity. And then my post office caught on fire Thursday night. Fortunately, I have an alibi. A fire started in the building. Supervisor on duty heard a loud popping noise, smelt smoke, and from the building called 911. Failing to investigate the situation is probably what led to the burning down of Westchester Post Office. Firefighters encountered so much heavy smoke they had to cut 5 ventilation holes in the roof. The roof is now structurally unsound. Everything in the building, scanners, cases, packages, mail, everything is covered with water and soot. So, of course, the post office, in its ingenious ineptitude, took all 88 routes and put them up at Tri-County, which is in Malvern, Wayne, PA, in a brand new big facility that's under construction for electric vehicles, with a parking lot with a 12-foot wide hole in it. You can't get in the building unless you have a badge with an electronic chip in it, which nobody from Westchester has. Facility is almost 3 football fields long and a football field and a half wide. So if you wanted to go to the bathroom, you better know 10 minutes before you need to, because that's how far you have to go. They have no cases. They took DPS only out on Friday, took DPS and parcels on Saturday, then came back and got the rest of the parcels that they didn't have run yet. So carriers were out to 6, 7 o'clock at night, which is fine for RCAs, but for the regulars, you're not getting paid jack for that, except for second trip. Oh, that's right. It's not a second trip. It should be 81.27 time, at least time and a half for any and every hour used in. It's not a second trip because you couldn't fit it in the vehicle. It's a second trip because they didn't have it ready. Now, mind you, as of Friday morning, a DR and ADR were all notified of the situation. And as of today, neither have gotten back to us. So again, the NSS is up and running and well in Pennsylvania District 2. Other than that, things are fine. It's lovely here.
Sounds like a complete firestorm over there, literally.
And on top of that, okay, we don't start till 10 o'clock on Sundays for Amazon Sunday. Of course, the carriers go in there and they took volunteer regulars this week, and they started 10 o'clock and had to sit in the break room until 11 because they didn't have anything done yet. So then they discharged them onto the street by 12:30. When they came back, as they got back, they had to sit back in the break room so they could do a second run of parcels on Amazon Sunday. You don't think we're going to lose people? Now, mind you, this new facility we're at temporarily is 22 miles one way away from our old post office. Everybody is going to have their mileage adjusted. Everybody's going to have to get their fuel charges adjusted, because it's almost going to be 100 miles a day for every route in the office. And you want to tell me that you have a 5 o'clock dispatch? It's my ass. Nobody's making it. And we have two what we call very fast people in our office that want to get home early because they have child care issues. And they're having a fit. This whole thing, it's a clusterfuck from the word go. And I don't understand why the post office isn't in Westchester, right down the road from where our facility is, in an industrial park, looking at facilities with docks and some huge warehouse space behind it so that we can utilize that instead of going 22 miles away to get our mail and our parcels. Mind you, we don't have cases yet. So the only thing going out is the DPS.
Can't make this stuff up.
No, you cannot.
I remember when we had the fire in our post office and we spent over 6 months shoehorned into the tiniest post office in the area, but it was a lot closer than the other option they had. And yet, just around the corner from our post office, again, it's a small industrial area that had places for rent that would have fit all of us in there, plus our equipment in the parking lots, but it wouldn't have worked for them. So we got shoehorned in. Everybody that had normally 3 cases minimum, we're now in one single case sorting everything, and it was just a mess. So I know exactly what your carriers are going through on that aspect, and I know that your office is going to lose revenue for the time that it's down for that, which means that they're going to cut clerks, they're going to cut janitorial, they're going to cut everything they can out of that post office, except the carriers. They'll try and find a way to cut the money out of you, which is one of the things we're going to be talking about today. But my week was okay. Normal Monday, heavy load. Then Tuesday came around, it was all right. Then Wednesday hit, and we went from normally 1.5 pallets Amazon to 5.5, and they were big boxes. Thursday, same thing, five pallets Amazon. We only have 12 routes in this office, 10 regular and 2 aux. And then Friday came along, and the boxes size came down a little bit. Still had big ones, but we had quite a lot of medium to large Amazon boxes, but not the massive ones that we had that filled our trucks up pretty fast. But it was a pretty good week overall. I mean, still working more than my evaluation every single day for it, but I'm hoping that it affects my bell curve and keeps my route into K route status at least. And then Saturday started getting messages from carriers about what's going on in offices with the management being allowed to edit scans. Started getting messages about carriers having issues with management benchmarking again. And then today I saw that letter of demand for $76,000 from a carrier. $76,000. That's more than most carriers on table 2 make.
Yep.
And a lot of carriers on table 1. How in the heck can a carrier accrue a $76,000 letter of demand from management? It just baffles my mind. I'm going to try and reach out to that carrier and find out exactly what's going on with that. But that is just unreal, And then today I took the time to join in with the Build a Fighting in ALC Zoom meeting that they had. Good conversation there about the exact same things happening to them that are happening to us. They had Corey on there from 8 Arbitration. He spoke for a little while about their convention coming up, and a lot of their rules and procedures are just like ours, because just like us, they follow the Robert's Rules of Order. They'll have the same issues that their leadership and their committee, the resolution committee, will turn around and tell them that they oppose the resolution. And so I actually got on there and told them that we're going to deal with the same thing, because I put in the resolution for PTS to pay less dues than a regular carrier. And we know that the resolution committee is going to come out and oppose it. the finance committee is going to put an absurd number against it. So that way people will vote against the resolution on the basis of money alone. So, and then I got prepared for your and my conversation today, Bill. So let's just start it right off the bat. I've been reached out to by several carriers in offices that are now testing the editing of Rex inputs that carriers make. And
Juicy.
this is what I found out. All the scans can be manipulated. Every input you make can be manipulated by this system. There's no way for us to find out anything on our own without asking management, unless our evaluations go down. We can and should ask for the MDD printout daily, but they can still go in after the fact and edit it after they've printed out that sheet. It's up to us to prove everything. It used to be that management used to have to prove everything. Now it's on us. The onus on us. More stress on us. The test office only has the carrier sign off, but is not required to. They're not requiring them to sign off on it. And what if you refuse? There's no answer if you refuse. You are to file a grievance if they're doing it, if you catch them doing it. But it's your word against management's. And right now, as it stands, our national leadership, our national union representatives would rather listen to management than us. The national board is telling them to file on anything. But if you have no proof, they're going to say no action required, just like on our disputes. And you can't file unless it's been done. You can't file beforehand. I think management needs to be on this as a step 4. And it's just one of those things that you look at and you go, we told you so. We said this when we talked about it, when we first heard about it on that last week's episode. And then we talked about it on Wednesday after you national office put out, oh, by the way, this is now happening. Talk about after the fact. So, Bill, go for it.
There's nothing funnier than a situation where they come to an agreement where a carrier and management has to sign off on, these changes in your scanners. But they don't allow for the fact that if the scanner or management refuse to sign it. Well, if you're going to propose something that has to be done, then you have to put in place contingencies if they are not done. Again, these were only supposed to affect, I believe it was 8 items on the scanners. Now you're telling me they can go in and change everything. Are you kidding me? Why don't we have an IT specialist who can create a digital footprint of the entries as they're made, as they're adjusted, as they're deleted, as you can if you're a good IT person? You're worried more about your presence on your videos, and you're worried about going to contract negotiations. You have to hire a professional from the Teamsters to assist you in contract negotiations. Well, it doesn't matter what the contract negotiations are if you keep giving up every damn thing that we are fighting for, everything that we are challenging. It's proof. As you said, they can go in and do this. This is the top of the mountain with the lack of transparency that we get from the post office and that our leadership is accepting. Oh, well, they can do that. And that's the saying we say in Westchester. Oh, they can do that. Meow put on there about something about getting our mapping change for the routes. Do you know our ADR actually said, let's not be hasty and file a class action grievance for mileage and the footage inside the building because it behooves us not to say anything. It'll change automatically on the scanners. Are you kidding me? Do you actually trust anything that's going into scanners? Do you know why people are taking pictures of their scanners or recording how many pieces of flats they get every day from their machine tubs? Because you can't trust the system. And folks, let me tell you, this political mail is going to hit the fan. And where is the proof you're getting credit for that? Especially if you're in an office that they don't post the radar reports up. You can't check them. Because I know I get 1.5 feet to 2 feet of political mail every day once this starts winding up. Where's the credit for that? Because that will cover my route of 629 boxes at least 3 times over. Show me the proof. And they can't. And that's what we are entitled to, according to the arbitrator, is transparency. And our leadership does not demand it. The arbitrator said that management is supposed to train the carriers. Never did. Our leadership never demanded it. Now, as of yesterday, in my new office, away from my office, they're telling the carriers, don't worry about anything. Just do the 6 scans that you're required. Who the hell came up with a change to a national policy at the district level? And where is our union representation? Because the full-time ADR hasn't gotten back to anybody since Friday, and the new DR hasn't gotten back to anybody since Friday. So we had to make a call to our NRO, and several people have. But we shouldn't have to. This is the problem. You get these jobs, you're full-time, you don't have to carry your route, you've got it made, and you forget how you got there and why you are there. You are there to serve the craft. So pick up the goddamn phone and talk to us. I'm done, James.
That's the most interesting thing about all of this, because management has to track the politicals that you have to of them, because they're supposed to be treated as first class, and you have to mark all of them up and put them in a separate area. Management has to record it and all that stuff. But at the front end, they aren't tracking any of that crap. None of it. We're supposed to input it as WSS in our scanners when we get it. We're supposed to do all that stuff, but now management can delete that WSS after we enter it. You can't make this stuff up. It's crazy to think that we have gone from a mail count for 2 weeks, once a year at most, and now we're down to every 6 months we have the mini mail survey. Carriers have to worry about what's input into their scanner, how much they have of this, how much they have of that. Are they getting a credit for this? Are they getting a credit for that? Now you got to worry about management editing your scans. You got management coming after you for stationary events. You got them coming after you for benchmarking. Oh, you put in too many trips to door. You put in too many authorized dismounts. One of the carriers that contacted me said that they had 35 authorized dismounts one day, and management edited in their office. You only get 20 for this day. Even though they did 34 authorized dismount trips, they got 20 by management. And you want to tell me they're not going to affect the valuations with this crap? You're going to tell me that management's not getting us more worried about stuff? We are on a precipice here. Management is stressing rural carriers out. Not only have you got offices where they're turning off the AC, shutting off the fans, forcing the carriers out to the street, that when they come back, the office is 10 degrees cooler than when they left. And they've shut the AC off when they get back to force them out from their end of shift duties. But now they've got to also worry about every single penny that they're rightfully earning out there on the street. It's amazing to think that we have gone from able to do our jobs diligently, efficiently, and safely to not only worrying about it while we're on the job, now we're going home and wondering if management is still sitting there once we've gone home and editing all our inputs, deleting them because their district manager said, oh, you're on a list for too many of this, too many of that. They are stealing our money on purpose with malicious intent. But yet our national office says it won't affect your evaluations. It's just an inconvenience. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. That was what Renfro said to the city carriers. It's amazing to think that we have gone from so much change. And yet now here we are repeating history. We're repeating history.
We're in a new office now. Okay, they don't have any cases for us. They don't have any area set up for us. People are digging to get their DPS out. They have to travel half a mile to get their parcel hampers. They have to bring it back to their area to sort through it because the machines aren't sorting them correctly. They're not set up for our office, inclusive of this operation. And you have to go out another, quarter mile to the parking lot, and then a quarter mile in the parking lot to your truck, if you can find your truck, because there's no assigned parking spaces because the parking lot's under construction. So all these things add up time and time again, and yet here, this guy, John Harrison, who's the district manager in this area, walks around like the emperor, and his word is rule. And the reason he can do this is because our union has been so weak in the past that he's impugned to anything we throw at him. He doesn't care. He's not afraid of us because it doesn't matter if he loses, he'll still get away with it for a couple months before it is properly addressed. And that's what gets me. That's one of the reasons he hates me. I got into a conversation with the gentleman one time, and I said, well, that sounds like a national issue. I says, I don't remember seeing your name on the contract. Smart ass. Well, yes, I am. So don't try to push any of this bullshit past me. This is the impunity they act with. The guy from Buffalo, turn off the air conditioners, squeeze the walls. Petros out in Pennsylvania. And so what? If a dog rips your throat out, too bad. They get away with this because they're empowered to do it. And the only reason they're empowered to do it is because our national leadership has not stood up to them. And it's time we change that. This year is the year to do that.
So another thing was I got my disputes back for my evaluation. Every single one of them, no action needed. And I even gave them all the proof they needed to prove it needed to be changed. And they still said no action needed. And I'm frustrated with that because my DR should have sat there and went, he's arguing this. He's got the proof. We should be fighting this. We should be moving this up. We should be taking care of this. But instead, it's let's get all these done. Let's get all these done. Let's get all these done. They even combined several of my disputes together in one resolution. And then I come back to my office and I'm being told I have to deliver to an unsafe mailbox. So I filed a 1767. And my supervisor goes out, takes an LLV. By the way, he is trained on an LLV. He was a rural carrier. Drives down this single lane dirt road where this mailbox is located, pulls into a driveway, parks the truck, gets out, takes a picture of the truck parked there, then backs out, pulls the truck next to the mailbox, takes a picture of that, and then comes back to the office and says it's safe to deliver. So I'm filing agreements on it on Monday. I'm filing 2 grievances on Monday, and the other one is a hostile work environment for the discussion we had that evening after he told me I had to deliver it. My ADR is behind me on this one. My ADR is really good. She takes care of me most of the time. Sometimes I may not agree with the process, but she still supports the carriers. So I will give her that. But the fact is, they sit there and make decisions of what's safe and not. And yet, myself, I'm not the only one that said this was unsafe. This road has been trying to get delivery to them for years down that road. Their mailboxes right now are on a paved road right at the end of their dirt road. And the carrier that was on this route before me said it was unsafe to deliver down that road daily. Going down it once in a while to deliver packages is okay as long as it's not iced over. But doing it every day, it's a risk of a head-on collision on a single lane road with swamps on both sides. Not going to happen. But this is the management we deal with. Daily, weekly, monthly. The kind of management that somebody that has spent decades in an office instead of on the route wouldn't understand. Back when they were still delivering the mail, we had fighters in the union. Granted, the cancer was already spreading, but we had fighters. People who stood up for this craft. People who fought tooth and nail to get us every dollar we deserved. That's what they remember. That's all they remember because they haven't seen that in decades. But when you have people at the top turning around and telling you basically it's an inconvenience and we'll be monitoring, I'm waiting for them to say we just want a pound of flesh.
Well, in your case, you can just give them a testicle. It's really gotten out of control in regards to how management treats us, how the union fails to react to this treatment, and the failure of the national board in addressing this on a nationwide basis. And I say nationwide because of the fact that all you have to do is get on Facebook and check all the different pages out and see the comments from people who are getting ready to retire, people who are looking for other jobs because this is not no longer an enjoyable job. I made a comment that, you know, years ago it was an enjoyable job because times and not management would work with us. Not anymore. Now it's their way or the highway. And the problem of it is they don't even know the contract to say which way to do anything. They're not educated enough. They're not intelligent enough. They operate in their own fear of losing their jobs if they don't get their reports done and submitted by 10:30, 11 o'clock, and before their telecom at 11:30, 12 o'clock. They don't want to work there on Saturdays or Sundays and give up their weekends, but we're expected to, and holidays. The problem of it is that these people who've been promoted into management are unqualified. And yet, if you have unqualified management, you're going to have a tenuous hold on the floor because of the fact that there are people like James, myself, Toasty, Kristen, just to name several, that know more than they do. And it becomes contentious when we challenge them. We challenge them because we know they're wrong. Yes, we have RCAM now. And how many people know about RCAM, huh? Malcolm? Hell, they haven't even gotten past Rex yet. It's just ludicrous. And I'm not talking about the singer, that this has been allowed to go on. And I'm guaranteeing you, it's probably been 15 years, in my estimation. It's been allowed to just grow. Like you said, James, it's like a cancer underneath the surface, and it's just pushing up and weeping out. And nobody here Nobody on the national board can hear the anguish cries of our craft. They're not here. You mean to tell me you're not hearing this? 240 people quit out of SWAC earlier this year. But that's okay because we made up with more than that new hires. But you need a 3-to-1 average of new hires to make up the same amount of money that you need for your damn salary, Don.
Well,
Those
no,
people aren't scabs. Those people
Bill.
weren't scabs and freeloaders. They were union members who gave up their voice because they failed to see the value of paying dues.
But Bill, he can make them up with PTFs.
Oh,
You know,
God,
PTFs
yes.
as he said in the magazine, PTFs will benefit the Postal Service, but it will also benefit the dues of the union.
Okay, let me give you an example, James, okay? A person I know used to be a rural carrier, used to be a local president, used to be a local steward, went into management. They called me up and they asked me about the PTF position. I said, what do you need to know? Well, this office needs a couple PTFs. And I tell them they need to put in posting for a couple PTFs. I said, well, how many carriers they have? Well, they have 5. Well, they can have 1 PTF. No, because they got 4K routes. They can have more than 1 PTF. You know what I said? Come on, ask me.
What did you say?
Click. I just hung up.
Why is it that
You're going to
what?
argue with me about this, and you don't know the rules of a PTF and how many you can have per route? Oh, that's right. 10? Is that the number? 10, and you have 5 routes. You can't smack enough stupid out of people. You really can't.
Why didn't they go to their labor person that they're supposed to go to as management to get those answers?
God,
We shouldn't.
because they've
We
been
shouldn't have
spending
to help
weeks.
management.
Well, this person is a personal friend outside of the post office with me. Doesn't mean they're any brighter than anybody else, but you can't pick your friends that well. They're good people outside of the post office.
Yeah.
But I mean, well, where does it say that in the contract? Look it up yourself, okay? Jesus Christ. I just, this is a person with 30 years at the post office and doesn't know this shit. Not because they had 4K routes, they could get 2 PTFs.
Well, yeah, they only have to have a minimum of 2 routes for the PTF to be assigned. So he's thinking, oh, they only need 2 routes. Well, fine, I'll get 2 PTFs. They can have 2 routes each.
Exactly.
And then those 2 PTFs would have to pay full regular carrier dues while only getting paid for 2 routes a week. And one of them is probably on a Monday, heaviest day of the week, where they're getting paid the evaluation of the route, but working way over it. And then the Saturday one, they possibly would be working over the evaluation on that too, because sometimes some Saturdays are heavier than other days of the week. And I guarantee you, a PTF that is constantly over evaluation is going to turn around and quit too, because they want to be paid fairly for the time that they put into the work.
Hello.
And I understand a lot of people are going to argue go hourly, go hourly, go hourly, but that just opens us up for even more abuse than what we're already going through. Just look at the city side.
Yeah, wait till you start doing pivots.
Yeah. Or you have to start using annual leave if you get done with your route in 6 hours and there's no other work and you have to sit in that office for 2 hours with no AC because they're trying to force you back out of the office so that you can make your 8 hours.
In responding
And
to the chat, in responding to the chat about 2 PTFs, they only need to get 2 routes. It's 1 PTF per 12 routes. The 12 routes do not have to, or 10 routes. The 10 routes don't have to be K routes, but you have to have 10 routes, full routes per PTF. As in my office, we have 2 PTFs and we have 18 full routes, no auxes. That's why you don't use that formula of 2 PTFs getting 2 days a week. That's the minimum.
and also think about this: if you have regular carriers and and PTFs in your office like that, vacations would be completely screwed up too, because you'd have to be back to work that day that that PTF has to run his route that he's assigned. So your vacation, you could put, okay, I want Monday through Friday off because you have Monday off with the PTF running your route. So you have Monday through Friday off. Well, guess what? You have to be back on Saturday. You can't have Saturday and Sunday off too. So you have to think about that as well. There is so much wrong with this. And our national elected representatives are turning around and saying it's an inconvenience. Let's just hire more PTFs because we can't hire RCAs. Why the hell haven't you been hammering the Postal Service on their hiring process? Why haven't you been hammering them on getting people hired? Why haven't you been involved in training and retention of these carriers? Why haven't you been in these offices finding out why carriers aren't working in these offices? There are offices out there that turn over people like they're going out of style, and they're starting to go out of style. But instead
Well,
of trying to figure out what's going on, they're sitting on their hands going, we can't understand why people don't want to do this job. They used to line up out the door when I was working there.
National Geographic has placed the RCA on the endangered species list, right?
Yeah.
Because you
Well,
can't find them. They're very elusive. They don't last long in captivity.
And if they don't stop, the regular carrier is going to be on the endangered species list.
But and that's a situation I'm looking at my office because, like I said, we're 22 miles away from our home office that caught fire. Now the problem of it is that 21 and a half of those miles on Route 202 north and south, which is the major thoroughfare, Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, up to Philadelphia, Norristown, King of Prussia. I want to know who wants to get on that road where the average speed is between 65 and 70 miles an hour while you're driving a piece of shit LLV.
Mm-hmm.
I know the Metros will do 105 miles an hour, but when you're driving down 202 and you've got it floored and you're doing 58 miles an hour, you're going to get run over because these people, they change lanes faster than a NASCAR driver. And they don't mind tapping you. They don't mind going around you on the shoulder, either one, inside or out. And our lives are going to be in jeopardy. Again, there's an industrial park that we were on the same road as. There are facilities there that we could lease out for a year. But no, let's get it all under one roof and really create a colossal clusterfuck. And that's what they've done.
Oh, it's just to prepare you for the SNDCs.
Yeah, well, this is the SNDC. That's why we're up there, because they haven't incorporated the other offices in there. They had room for us to go up there and basically work off the floor. The funniest part about it is that they have their construction's going on inside and out of the building. They have one bathroom for men and women. It's functional. The other two, construction. So if the one bathroom, which has 3 urinals and 3 sit downs, is booked, then you're welcome to go outside to the parking lot and use the porta potties that the construction guys are using. or as we said, pre-show, get your Depends on, because it's a walk to get to the bathrooms. So you better know when you're going 10 minutes before you have to be there.
I believe that's going to be under 800-321 OSHA.
Yes. Not enough facilities for the amount of personnel working. That's a violation.
Yeah. And an unsafe working condition because the building is still under construction while people are in there. Unsafe working condition because you do not have the tools to do your job. Unsafe working condition due to the hazards outside in the parking lot due to it being under construction.
Yeah, active construction zone, yes.
Yeah, this is an OSHA violation, 100% from everything you've told me so far.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you could go into more, but that's why we call these things out, is because our national office isn't willing to call it out. And when we do call it out and we put it out there for everybody to hear, guess who's playing catch up to us? National office. You know, they try to tell us, oh, you don't know what's going on up here. You don't know what's happening up here. You don't know what's going on out here. When you have to get your information from a podcast and then put it on your website,
James, do you realize how inconvenient it is while you're at a remote parking spot waiting for the shuttle to take you to the airport 2 hours ahead of time of the flight so you can be there on time to get through all the clearance? Do you know how inconvenient that is?
No, because I've never flown.
Oh. Do you know how inconvenient it is when you have to go across the country to meet with your state officials in different sections of the country, your DRs and ADRs, and you have to wait 20 minutes to get a table when you're out at dinner? You know how inconvenient that is?
I don't find it inconvenient to have to go out and meet with everybody.
You just don't understand the sacrifices they make, okay?
Oh,
You're an ingrate. You're an ingrate. That's what I can say.
You mean having to wait 20 minutes for somebody to press record on a camera while the curtain behind you moves faster than you do?
See, there you go. You're incorrigible. You really are. That's why I like you.
That's the thing. That's the thing. You know, this is something that even though they're sitting at national office doing whatever it is they're doing in there, they can still get what's out here on the street. They can still get the information that they need to know. It can still be passed up to them. The problem for me is the information is getting passed up to them. You talked about that lady at Orlando on the floor, in tears, begging for help. That was a chance for them to listen to the craft. And our vice president at the time didn't do anything. Our president at the time didn't do anything. Our director of labor relations at the time didn't do anything. The director of steward operations didn't do anything. Secretary treasurer didn't do anything. And none of the executive committee men did anything. They just waited for the next person to get on the mic to talk. They didn't talk with that carrier afterwards either. They didn't take them aside, tell them we're going to look into this. They didn't even say, we'll get back to you on that. That is the problem. They are so disconnected from this craft that I don't even think they think of this craft anymore, because they've turned around and everything I've read about the benefits that they're doing for that are in the magazine has been, this will benefit the Postal Service. This will benefit the Postal Service. Delivering for America will benefit the Postal Service. Doesn't talk about how it will benefit us, the craft. Have you noticed that, Bill?
No, I just noticed that they concede everything to the post office. They conceded the forcing of Rex through, conceded the RCAM, they conceded the rural route optimization program. Now they're conceding this test program in regards to editing scans. I'm sorry. Do you want my firstborn too? Because that's all I have left to give you besides my life, and you're not getting that. I just I don't understand. Where is your mentality in regards to the position you've been elected to in the service of the craft? Where is your mind at that you think that you are doing a good job representing, protecting, educating, promoting this craft? You're not. All you're doing is lining your pockets, and just padding your retirement. Don Madsen, 320 miles away from where he lives is where his route is. He bid on an overburdened route 320 miles away. Why? Because that high-valued route will contribute towards his high threes for his retirement from the post office. And it's simple. He never intends to do a day on that route. When he loses this election in August, he will never serve a day on that route. And that's why they need to go. They have no intention of working their routes. Can you see Shirley or Bridget out there trying to do their routes?
I would probably see Shirley doing more than Bridget.
I don't think Bridget would want to get her pink outfit messed up with the ink of all the mail and packages. I don't think either one of them would. Shirley, you got to remember, she's got a nice stipend built up from her husband, okay? She doesn't have to work, but it's a nice bonus towards retirement. Bridget, I have no idea if she would be able to do a route, let alone case a route. Where's she from? She's from Michigan, isn't she?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to find out from somebody in that office, what route she has, how big it is, how many miles, how many CBUs. Can you imagine her being out there trying to service that in the dead of winter? No. These people have gotten themselves elected to positions of retirement.
From what they've told me, she hasn't touched a route in 30 years.
30 years.
That's what they tell me. Bridget has not touched a route in 30 years. I could be wrong, but that is what people have told me. Now, granted, she's only been on the national board since 2022. I think she was elected. Yeah, 2022 at Orlando. She was elected to Director of Labor Relations. She was reelected last year to Director of Labor Relations. But that was her first position on the national board, was Director of Labor Relations in 2022. Prior to that, she was a regional steward. Before that, she was a state steward. Before that, she was a local steward.
Question comes up about Nikki Phillips. We will reserve comment on Nikki Phillips because of the fact that he is a candidate. And on a personal level, I really like Nikki. And some people, he reminds me of the coach, the manager for the Philadelphia Phillies. And Charlie is of the same background with the slower Southern draw. And everybody took that to be, slow mentally or, dumb. Let me tell you, neither one of those gentlemen are slow or dumb. They're very precise in their wording. They're very precise in what they try to convey to you.
They're very calculated.
Yes, do not confuse Nikki Phillips to be some slow old man, because Nicky knows his stuff. But as I said, he's running for a position as an executive committee person or national board position. Don't know yet. But the thing of it is that I like Nicky personally, and I will reserve my comment except for that I respect him.
I will say this, I do respect him too. He is a Southern gentleman. And when I stepped up there last year by myself on stage, he was the only person on that stage to shake my hand and wish me luck as I went up there to make my nomination speech. Nobody else up there except the president, because he introduced me, shook my hand as I went up there.
Malcolm, I think he'd be more capable than a couple others up on that national board. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying any more about that.
But
I promised Kristen I would behave myself tonight.
So, getting back to our topic of us calling it, you have to think about all the things that us carriers deal with on a daily basis. Not only do we have to listen to the craft as national board members, we have to act. We have been reactive for so many years. It's almost like we were in survival mode. And that's what we're doing now is we are just barely surviving all the stress that management's putting on us. We have been fighting and fighting and fighting. A lot of carriers have bowed out of this fight. Carriers have quit. Carriers have pulled their dues. Why? Because this has become one of the most stressful times ever in the career of the rural carrier. Because you have to keep track of so much stuff. Like just now, they put out the 2080 tracker. Again, why are we having to track our 2080 and 2240 hours if management was actually doing their job? If we were holding management accountable, if we were taking care of our carriers, we wouldn't have to put out a 2080, 2240 tracker. One of our listeners just put, we are dying. We aren't surviving anymore. Yeah, there are a lot of carriers out there dying too. We just had that one in Chicago, rest her soul, get murdered on her route. We had carriers die in this heat. We've had supervisors die in this heat. We've got people who are just falling over left and right. We have carriers that are going home after they're done with their shift and dying from heart attacks because of the stress. It shouldn't be like this. We shouldn't have to be fighting day in and day out with management. Our union elected representatives should be fighting tooth and nail for us. They should be the ones stressing out management. Management needs to be the one stressed out. Management needs to be stressed out to the point they finally realize, hey, it's much easier if I just follow the contract and the manuals. Hey, I don't actually have to do much work if I just follow the rules. Imagine how much easier management would have it if they didn't micromanage. And how much easier it'd be if we weren't micromanaged. But they won't think like that because they're so worried of chasing pennies, they're losing dollars. And if they put, yes, as somebody said in there, if the Postal Service put as much time, effort, and money into training their people as they do the new centers, we'd be in a much better place. Yes, we would be. If they put enough time and money and effort into actually training management on the rules and regulations, policies, and procedures of the post office and the contracts, I bet you half of this crap would stop. Not all of it, but at least half. I know some people will hold me to that, but
Okay, 48%.
okay, fine. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
49.
Yeah, it's funny, James, that I dropped off a printed copy of Arkham to my supervisor. She looked at me and said, "What's that?" And I said, "That's your reading material for tonight." I don't have time for this. You better, because this is what's going to get your ass whopped every time there's a grievance. Didn't have an idea of what the Arkham was. That's how well they're trained. Uh-oh, here comes my dogs. Here comes my dogs. They're going to come to get their biscuits. Come on, Molly. Come on, baby. Here we go. Ah! I'm getting attacked by these huge dogs. Oh, no. There you go. Got your biscuits. This is like postal harassment. Oh, God, folks. Yeah, you can't believe it. These dogs look for me.
Careful, you don't get your throat ripped out.
Yeah. Oh, baby. Oh, big
Oh,
fluffy balls.
so
There you go. That's the best part of our mail route is the dogs. Or the
the
kids
good
charging you
dog.
$5 for lemonade.
Yeah.
Take care.
But
And see, that's the part of the job you love. These are my
yeah,
neighbors that I don't deliver to. We live in a different zip code and everything. But every time they come around, the dogs run for my back porch to see Bill the mailman. And I love it. I love it. I don't like the kids
yeah,
selling me the lemonade for $5 and it's warm, but what the hell, you know.
yep, exactly.
uh,
And that's the thing that management, especially those that are above local management, don't understand. That is what district, regional, national don't understand. And I have a feeling that our national board doesn't understand it either. They don't understand that this is not a business. We've heard it from Maston. He said, we are becoming a parcel business. DeJoy has said, we're working on the business of the Postal Service. And I think they've all forgotten the definition of the word service. Now I understand you have UPS parcel service, but those are businesses, they're private businesses. We are a service. We are a government controlled agency that has never turned a profit, ever. And they're trying to make it turn a profit off the rural carriers, off the city carriers, off the clerks, off the janitors, off VMF, off the mail handlers, but not off of management. $80 million to the University of Oklahoma to train management in business. They're going to business classes. They're not going to management classes. They're not going to contract understanding classes. They're going to business classes for $80 million. You know what they could have done with that $80 million? Sent
train their
Postmaster General.
managers.
They could have sent Postmaster General Louis DeJoy to each and every single district for a week to train management on the contracts. Pay him his salary plus per diem plus his expensive hotel suite and entourage that's with him and train every single district on the contract, the rules and regulations for each craft and still had money left over. I did not say on a private jet, but that could have been put in there and probably made up all the $80 million. But they could have trained every single manager in the country for $80 million for all crafts. And it's one of those things that we are repeating history. And the history is the 60s. If you go back and listen to movies and audio from back then, from the unions that were involved back then. You can hear the exact same things we went through back then are happening today. What's gonna be the catalyst that makes that change to where we don't end up where we were back then, where we don't have Royal Oak, where we don't have Memphis, where we don't have Los Angeles? We are the only agency or company in this country with our own negative slogan. Doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to allow that to happen.
We can't allow that to happen.
We
can't
cannot.
we can't regress back like that.
No. And we need to do something to make that change. We need to step up in our national convention and make that change. Because I've talked to carriers who are scared to go to work because of management. Carriers who are scared because the way management is treating a carrier, that they're going to be their office is going to be the next headline news. But yet we're told it's basically an inconvenience what management is doing to us from our national officers. It's time, guys. Time for us to become the craft we need to be. The people who step up and say enough is enough of the managerial butt kissing. We don't have to treat them with kid gloves anymore. The labor movement has proven that we don't have to treat them with kid gloves anymore. Your president said we don't need to bang the table. Well, I'm sorry. They aren't listening to, well, if we're going to talk with them, and if talking fails, we'll step out of the room and then we'll step back in and talk some more. It's not going to work.
I like to bang that table like I banged that trash can.
So we're getting a little over an hour here. Bill, you want to start wrapping this up? Give your final thoughts?
Final thoughts. This past 2 months has really been trying on my soul. Reading everything in social media, talking to people. I've had people call me from across the country, and it's like, "Is this the bill?" Like, yeah, this is the bill. And then I get a story. I see the pictures of a car today where the packages are so many, they actually have the trunk open, bungee corded, and another parcel, big parcel, between the back window and the trunk lid, bungee corded there. And I'm like, okay, yes, we're transitioning from mail to parcels, but this is ludicrous. I mean, and then the carrier reports I have to make a second and third trip. We've got to give the carriers the equipment to be able to do this. There's a way to do this, and when I become president, I'll reveal it. But I'm so disheartened by the fact that so many people want to quit. And between James, myself, Toasty, Kristen, and many others, we don't know how to quit. It's not that we like the fight, but we rise to the challenge. And we rise to defend our fellow carriers, our brothers and sisters in this craft. Because some of them can't speak up for themselves, don't have the personality, the knowledge, or the backbone to speak up for themselves. Like the shepherd dog, okay? Here to protect the weakest of the flock against the wolves. And the wolves in our case are not only United States Postal Service Management. It's our own national board, because they're the ones that have created this season of apathy that has been going on for almost 10 years now. We can't do anything. The old boys rule the club. Nothing's ever going to change. Yes, you're right. Nothing will ever change until you make it change. And to make it change, you have to be involved. And to be involved means if you get punched in the mouth, you have to get back up and swing again. You can't give up because you lost a fight. You lose a fight, but you don't lose the war. And we're here for the long stretch. We're here for the entirety of the war. We've been doing this for how many years now, James? 2 years?
2 years together, yeah.
Yes. And, I don't know how many more years we're going to be doing this, but as long as we're involved, we're going to be swinging. And we're going to be swinging for the fences. We do not want to settle for language. We do not want to hear that, okay, we made a mistake. We want financial penalties on every grievance. We want the language to immediately cease and desist in every settlement. We want bad management removed. We want to sit there and put out an email talking about the dog ripping a carrier's throat out, somebody dying because they didn't wear a seatbelt, saying we spend millions and millions on training and education. Well, why don't you turn around and spend some of that money on your management team? Because, ladies and gentlemen, they're the dumbest of dumb. I've never met. And the worst part is some of them are nice people, but they're horrible supervisors. They're over their heads. They're inept. They're unknowledgeable. I won't say stupid because of the fact that they have certain intelligence, just not in the rule craft or the contract. Like I said, I handed my supervisor an RCAM, and she looked at me like I had 3 eyeballs. I had no idea what the RCAM is. And this is why we're in this fight. Because it has to be fought. And we don't quit. And we don't back down. We're in it for you. We're in it for ourselves. We're in it for the entire craft. Whether we like you or not, we will represent you. We will be your voice. We sure to hell are not going to take any more shit from the post office. Put us in office. Give us the opportunity to prove it. Like I said, I don't want a career position as president of the NRLCA. I just want to get it back on its feet where we're respected as a union, a knowledgeable, powerful union. And then I'll be glad to hand it off to somebody else more presidential in regards to their looks and behavior. But right now, we need a pit bull. And I'm the dog in that fight. With that, everybody be safe out there. Do the job the best you can. As Josh would say, when you get overwhelmed, step back, take a deep breath, step back in. Now, just take a moment to yourself. And then go about and do your job as productively, efficiently, and as safely as you can. And remember to make that last delivery to your home, because you are the most important delivery to your loved ones. God bless you.
Thanks, Bill. I agree. It's time for this craft, this union, this organization to step up to become the strongest union in the Postal Service. The one union that management knows it can't mess with. Because the time of going, it won't affect your evaluation, don't worry about it, is over. Sitting there and twiddling your thumbs saying things like that is not going to cut it anymore. If we were told management was bringing this out to work, we would automatically say, no, it's not happening. Any offices that this is happening in, and management edits anything, file a grievance. Because management, especially the local management, has been caught too many times falsifying carrier data, falsifying mapping, falsifying training, like heat illness prevention. Management cannot be trusted. They would rather climb a tree to lie than stand on the ground to tell the truth. They would rather falsify a government document than be on a list of their district manager. It's crazy to think that we're sitting here having to discuss these things on a podcast because we have a national elected representative that would rather put out small little notifications here and there while keeping everything else closely guarded because they're afraid of what the craft will say about them. They're afraid of how their words will be used against them. They're afraid of the media. They're afraid to look bad to their buddy at the top, the Postal Service. We're not afraid of that. We will shout it from the top of every mountain in America, from the Alleghenies to the Rockies, up in Alaska down to Hawaii, even Puerto Rico. We will shout it from the top because this has to be out there to everybody exactly how we are being treated. Because thanks to the Supreme Court, the National Labor Relations Board has been handcuffed a little bit concerning union activity. But public opinion always rules. Public opinion changes perception. If you haven't noticed, when the UAW, the Teamsters, and everybody else started putting their negotiating out there to the public, they got better results than anybody else. The time for hiding and cowering is over. It's time for every rural carrier to come and stand up and tell everybody in the world we're all in this together. We'll see you guys at our normal time next week unless something interesting comes up and we have a special midweek bonus. Stay safe out there, everybody.
Sometimes we know
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
What?
You hear that, Don? Hey, Don, did you hear that?